Welcome to Extracurricular Activities. I'm Brad.
And I'm Cait.
And what do we got on this week, Cait?
We have the Uni Games and the Commonwealth Games. Lots of games, but first let's go to News of the Week.
Thanks, guys. The Facebook Cambridge Analytica saga continues as Mark Zuckerberg admits up to 87 million users, a fair jump from the original estimate of 50 million, have had their privacy breached. While the majority of those affected reside in the United States, more than 300,000 Australians have been caught up in the scandal. Facebook has tightened its restrictions around the access of such data and has released a new privacy policy, but is facing increasing criticism. The ABC's RMIT fact check has recently shown Tony Abbott's claim that 400 white South African farmers have been murdered is in fact baseless. Abbott cited the figures while supporting Peter Dutton's calls for special attention to be given to the South African farmers. Dutton, as the Minister for Immigration and Control, has come under intense scrutiny, his actions labelled as prejudiced and pro-white. ABC Fact Check claims, however, that within the last 15 months, fewer than 70 white African farmers have been killed. While there is an increase in the rate of farm murders in the region, it seems this is part of a nationwide increase since 2012. China has hit back against President Donald Trump's tariff hikes that were announced last Tuesday, heightening trade war tensions. Beijing has issued a list of 106 products, which include some of America's largest exports to China, as potential targets for Chinese tariffs at a rate of 25%. The list, worth $50 billion includes products such as whiskey, aircraft and soybeans. While the Chinese Communist Party is yet to announce when these taxes will come into play, they present quite the impediment to Trump's promise of narrowing the US trade deficit with China, which last year stood at just over $375 billion. And to our supermassive black hole, the giant light-sucking, matter-munching gravitational sink in the centre of our galaxy. Astrophysicists have long predicted that this supermassive black hole should be surrounded by a cluster of smaller black holes, which until now have evaded detection. The Chandra X-ray telescope has revealed 12 of these guys, although calculations point to hundreds, if not thousands, being present at the centre of the Milky Way. And on that note, back to you guys.
Well, there it is, Cait. I think the only way to keep your data safe from Mark Zuckerberg is by sending it off into a rocket ship into a supermassive black hole.
There's one idea for you. Well, now we have the trials for the Uni Games started yesterday and are going through onto next week. And our reporter Christy has more.
After 25 years, the Australian Uni Games has been given a makeover to combat undesired behaviours such as binge drinking that has long been associated with the Games. The peak body Australian University Sport has decided to change the model beginning this year to move towards a more elite form of competition. Jamie Bowmaker, UOW Sport and Operations Manager, says there has been a need for change amongst universities to improve the quality of student athletes.
The divisional structure breakdown still gives everybody that opportunity to participate, but it's also increasing the level of the sport that Uni Sport Australia are offering.
However, participants like Hayden Irish believe the move from social aspects of the game will deter students from taking part.
A lot of unis don't think they'll be able to get people to be keen to go if there's no sort of party to it, because it used to be that you'd go out and have a party and then you'd go and play, and it was quite competitive, but it also had a big fun element to it, and now sort of the safety net's been taken off the party.
I think that your local home on campus is your social sport, and that's where that social sport should be left. Every student athlete should be proud to pull on the colours of their university and want to get out there and compete the best that they can, not be indulge themselves in what was the social program or the social aspect.
Trials for the University of Wollongong's Division 2 teams in netball and touch football kick off this week, in preparation for the Unisport Nationals in July. Kirsty Willauer, UOW TV, Multimedia.
Good luck out there to all those budding athletes. And speaking about sports, Cait, did you happen to catch the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games yesterday?
No, I didn't, but apparently a lot of people had quite a few words to say about it. So let's have a look.
So did you guys see the Commonwealth Games last night?
I haven't seen it.
No.
So what did you think of the opening ceremony last night?
Unfortunately, I don't know at all. I don't know anything about the Commonwealth Games. I just discovered it.
Did you see the opening ceremony last night?
Yeah, I did.
And what did you think of it?
I thought it was alright. It was a bit repetitive, but I suppose they all are.
How important is it, do you think, that the opening ceremony represents Australia's culture? I think we're kind of on the world stage, so it's probably really important that we show something of ourselves and what we really believe, who we are.
I guess it's good that it's showing a particular culture because Australia needs to be known out there.
And if you were going to design an opening ceremony yourself, what do you think you'd put in there to represent Australian culture?
Depends on where, like what city it is in.
Make the function a little more colourful. It's kind of like boring, like it should include more programs, so something to entertain the people. Yeah.
Probably lighting, like make the stadium light up.
I try to include some diversity since there are a lot of different cultures that make up Australian culture.
How would you design the opening ceremony?
I got 3 words for you, Cait. Jetpacks, crocodiles, motorbikes. And up next in the studio we have Associate Professor Sarah O'Shea from the School of Education and Social Sciences, who's going to be talking to us about her new research project where she's asking regional students to tell their own stories.
We are joined now in the studio with Associate Professor Sarah O'Shea. Can you tell us a little bit about the program that you're running?
Yeah, I sure can, Cait. I'm running a little research project with University of New South Wales and University of Newcastle. And what we're doing is we're recruiting students that come from regional remote areas and asking them if they'd like to make a digital story about their experiences of moving from their region or community into university.
And what do you think are the benefits of this particular medium of, storytelling as a mode of engaging with students?
Yeah, we're really excited by this. As far as we know, this is probably the first time the digital story narrative has been used with this particular cohort of students. It's quite commonly used in education for various purposes. So a digital story is basically 2 to 3 minutes long, and it's self-narrated with images, about 15 to 20 images. And the idea is that you express something that's probably quite deeply personal in a very short time frame. So it sort of captures the essence of what you're feeling about a certain situation. And so with the digital story medium, the reason we chose it is because we really want to highlight what it is that regional remote students feel when they move from their communities where they've grown up and have to make that quite a distant move in many cases to university.
Have you noticed any common trends with what you've collected so far?
Look, we're right at the beginning of data collection, but there are some common trends around this in the research. So regional and remote students are probably one of the cohorts of students that are most likely to drop out of university. And they often talk about the fact that moving from their community is a huge transition because they have to come to university, they have to almost recreate themselves. And I suppose that's what we're trying to capture in a way through a really exciting visual medium.
So how do you think in the long term the students will benefit from your research?
Well, we're really hoping that what we'll be able to do is really highlight what it's like from an individual perspective. So we know what the research says. We know that, students often feel quite disengaged, lonely, isolated, but it's that really personal visual medium that we're after. And hey, we want to show these digital stories to people. We might show them to people in policy or, other academics or vice chancellors. And then they'll get a greater understanding of what this movement is like from the student's perspective.
Well, it sounds like a really transformative tool. How can people get involved with this particular study?
Yeah, Brad, we're recruiting at the moment. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, they can pop me an email. My email is sarah@uow.edu.au and just say, hey, I'm interested in participating. And we'd love to then follow up. And as an added bonus, and a thank you for time involved in making the digital story, we do have a little incentive of a $150 Coles Myer voucher, which can be used for a range of things.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
It's been
you.
lovely to speak with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. All right, now we're going to go straight to the Muse.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Muse. We have a bunch of stuff on this week to get anyone's toes tapping and head thrashing, especially with this weekend's chocker lineup. First up, we have Cosmic Psychos at Unibar tonight. These guys are determined to batter your earholes with their Loudmouth Soup album, dropped yesterday. And if you're vibing something a little more jarring, you can check out the Diamond Constructs, Sebsons and more at the UOW Metalheads fundraiser at Radbar tonight. Now these guys are paired up with the Black Dog Institute for this event, so get around it for some headbangers and raise some funds for mental health. And tomorrow, you can catch the Bleeding Knees Club at Unibar. These boys are sure to put on a show ahead of their album drop later this year. Teaming up with US band Together Pangea, it will be a cracker of a show. Or you can even catch Adelaide hailing band Donnarumma. With a lofty rock attitude, these guys will have you swinging and swaying your way through Rad on Friday. And if that's still not your thing, you can head over to Howling Wolf to catch Jake and Jaden, who are sure to be experimenting with a load of instruments, from Native American flute to seafoam green strap. And on Saturday, local Illawarra producers Satori, Virus Installer and friends are bringing a Psytrance gig, Dark Side of the Moon 2 at Rad Bar. Kicking off at 8 PM, these guys are set to bring 4 hours of non-stop thumping energy to carry you away into the night. And of course, we've got the weekly Sunday sessions at Northgong Hotel. On the bulletin this week, we've got Central Coast Boys from the Sea Gypsies bringing us some solid but flowing indie rock vibes. Sharing the stage with them will be Sydney band Borneo. This quirky quintet will be wrapping up their Rebel Mind Tracks EP with tunes that even the Jerry's of Jerry's can bop to. And to start next week, Rad's got you covered. Melbourne's Didiri will grace the stage at his sold-out show on Sunday. But you can still catch Saviour on Monday and Vacations and Ivy on Wednesday. And that's all we've got for this week, but be sure to get out and see what our little city has to offer and support this amazing industry and its artists. Stay tuned for what's happening on the Muse each Thursday.
Thanks, Lils. We've got some great gigs coming up.
Yep, and if you're looking to take a date to one of those gigs, take it for a word from the wise. Do not listen to the man who's about to give you some dating tips. This is Dear Riley.
Got questions about finding love in the digital age? There's only one person to ask. Dear Riley.
D asks, my roommates are making too much noise during sex. How do I let them know?
Passive-aggressive notes on the fridge, or my favourite is to avoid confrontation altogether and just live with it. That's not even a real question. I don't want to answer that one. Next.
Wait a minute, that's who's been putting notes on my fridge.
Thanks, guys, for joining us for today's episode. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Brad. Have a good one.
See ya.